through that to get people out of there.
One of our field producers is at NYU Medical, and there was some type of explosion. She can't confirm.
NYU Medical Center,
yes,
there's been an explosion?
Said, she and our reporter have debris on them. That's all I know, and the phone, she hung up. She's going to try to call the information.
So we have another report now of another, not an airplane, just some kind of a bomb went off at NYU Medical Center. So whatever is going on here is very, very coordinated. We would ask you and urge you, stay home, stay calm, don't panic, don't worry about anything. You're in the hands of the best life-saving, the police department, the firefighters in the city, best in the world. So a plane, we're told now that a plane went down in Pennsylvania, but we don't know anything much more than that. That a plane went down in Pennsylvania, we don't know where, and we don't know exactly what happened on that. But we will keep checking. As you can imagine, the news is flooding into us, and we're trying to get out to you best we can, bits and pieces. But again, I would just urge you, stay calm.
All right, John, let me interrupt you if I may, because yes, we have a further development. We're told now that from people in Washington that the Pentagon has undergone a partial collapse. As we've been telling you, the Pentagon was the third location struck by terrorists, and we understand that the Pentagon has collapsed at least partially. Mike Emanuel, are you there?
Yes, I am.
What can you tell us about this latest development?
It's just been a crazy day here in Washington. I mean, it's one of those days where you run in one direction, hearing news breaking in one area, and then it seems like something's happening in a different area. We can tell you that apparently a jet has crashed into the Pentagon. Personnel in that immediate area have been evacuated. There have been some reports that possibly another plane may be heading in that direction. Again, it's breaking news, so things have been, details have been kind of sketchy, but we can tell you the United States Capitol has been evacuated, the West Wing of the White House has been evacuated. There are reports of a possible car bombing outside the State Department here in Washington, D.C., so it's been a wild news day here in the nation's capital, as it has been in your city, and so emergency crews are scrambling everywhere, and we can tell you veterans of Washington, D.C. have said for the first time they can ever remember they've seen military planes flying over Washington, D.C., patrolling the skies after the Pentagon was hit. Eyewitnesses saying that they believe it was a U.S. Airways plane that came in low over the city, hitting a portion of the Pentagon. We have not gotten any numbers in terms of injured or possible fatalities, but we will get to those as soon as possible. But simply a crazy day here in Washington, as it has been in New York.
Mike, do you know anything about a report that we have here in New York that, according to the Capitol Police, a hijacked plane is en route to Washington now?
We've heard that report as well, and then we've also heard people saying that that is not so, that that's an erroneous report. We're trying to get to the bottom of it, but as you can understand, with a situation like this, there's all kinds of information flowing around. It's kind of hard to confirm what is absolutely accurate and what is not. We can tell you we've heard that, and we're checking it out.
We also heard that the Pentagon building itself at least partially collapsed. Do you know anything about that?
We've heard that as well, that perhaps the southern portion of the Pentagon, part of that has come down. Have not got numbers in terms of who may have been injured or killed, but we can tell you it's an unbelievable scene here in Washington, something that none of us ever thought we would see, as I'm sure people in your city never imagined to see either.
We can say the same thing here, John. Mike, that's for sure. Again, first the Pentagon, first the World Trade Center, one tower was hit by a plane, then another tower hit by a plane. Then we got word that the Pentagon was hit in Washington, and then the World Trade Centers collapsed in Lower Manhattan. John Rowland's out in the newsroom. John?
Well, Jim, I don't have much for you. I just have some sketchy information here that another explosion, a fourth explosion out at the World Trade Center has gone off. One doesn't know if that's an ancillary thing because of what already happened or an additional explosion of some kind outside of that. There's also been a plane that has crashed in western Pennsylvania. A large plane crashes in western Pennsylvania. Officials at Somerset County Airport confirmed. That's right off the wire copy. Don't know if that's connected to what's going on. The Rodino Federal Building in Newark, that's been closed. All the workers there have been told to go home. Not necessarily because of a direct threat. They've just been told to go home to get out of there, obviously clearing out any federal, state, city, and local office buildings. Jim, that's the latest we have from here.
All right, John, I imagine, given the fact I'm hearing word from the studio. Okay, I'm told all federal office buildings in Washington have been evacuated. I would imagine, given the fact that we have Oklahoma City in our past, that federal buildings all over the country would be, just to be on the safe side, would
Jim,
be
you have to wonder
evacuated.
where the president is right now and where Mayor Giuliani is right now.
When we last saw the president, he had just taken off in Air Force One en route back to Washington. So he presumably is still in the air en route back to Washington. However, good question as far as Mayor Giuliani is concerned. One hopes that nothing untoward happened to the mayor.
Right, because wasn't he going to hold a press conference?
If he was down in that World Trade Center, perhaps we hope nothing personally happened to the mayor physically, but maybe that the communications down there were wiped out by the crashes.
You know, they were saying that one of the planes they believe was hijacked from Boston, and in some of the things that I'm reading through here on the wire services, it says the second plane may have flown out of Newark, New Jersey, but that has not been confirmed. But Joe Kleins has just gotten up into the studio, the executive producer of the 10 o'clock news.
Yes.
And
Okay, he'll be here in a
apparently,
second, but I just want to tell you the Board of Elections has just announced the primary has been canceled.
Has been
Surprised
canceled.
there,
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Okay.
that makes a lot of sense. Here's Joe right now.
Kleins, you look a bit the worse for wear. You've been running around this morning, obviously.
Yeah, they're not letting, I'm coming in from Long Island. They're not letting anything but real extreme emergency vehicles over the 59th Street Bridge. Thousands of people are walking across to and fro. I was on the bridge when I believe the second tower may have crumbled, and people were just standing in shock. I mean, everybody's jaw just dropped. Absolutely open. There's, you know, New York, everybody has to go someplace, and people are going places, but everybody is just has a dazed look on their face. It's amazing because, you know, if you walk, we're near 2nd Avenue here on the Upper East Side. You look down, it's many miles away, but people are still looking down the road, seeing this amazing, horrific display.
Now, you were able to see it from the bridge, were you?
I saw it right as somebody said, "Oh my God!" It was the second, apparently the second tower. I was in the car listening on the radio when the first tower crumbled. It's just, it's amazing, and everybody's just, you know, you can't put it into words. Shock, horror. You know, this really, I mean, instantly people are looking at it and know that this is, you know, we're never going to be the same after something like this.
It's curious how you even got here.
There's a garage, a parking garage at Queens Plaza that I often use. You know, the traffic was very heavy. I ditched there and then I ran across the bridge. And a lot of people are running and, you know, just coming back and forth. It really is an amazing sight.
All right, Joe, just 1 second, please. We're going to go back to Washington now, where Fox reporter Mike Emanuel has an update for us there. Mike?
Yes, Jim, I can tell you that it's a U.S. Air 737 that crashed into the Pentagon earlier this morning. Much of the Pentagon has now been evacuated. There are still some personnel in the basement of the Pentagon in a bunker-type facility, and basically it is designed to stand through an attack, but we can confirm that it was a U.S. Air 737 which crashed into the Pentagon here in Washington earlier this morning, and there are fire crews from all over the greater metropolitan Washington area fighting the fire in that area. I can tell you I'm a good distance from there. I can see smoke coming from that building. But I am not actually at the Pentagon to tell you exactly how bad the fire is, but it looks like it's pretty sizable at this point.
So these are not little Lear jets we're talking about. We're talking about big, huge commercial jets.
You're absolutely correct. It sounds similar to the situation that you guys had in New York, commercial jet possibly hijacked or possibly vandalized, so it ended up crashing and hitting the area around the Pentagon. We do not have numbers in terms of injuries or possible fatalities, but we are able to confirm that it was indeed a commercial 737 U.S. Air, we are told by officials on the scene, that crashed into the Pentagon this morning. But the Pentagon officials the National Command Center at the Pentagon is still working. The rest of the building, though, has been evacuated. We're understanding a lot of the damage is to the outer ring of the Pentagon. And some of our people on the scene say it doesn't seem to be severe, but there does seem to be a pretty good fire going. at least on the outside of the Pentagon.
Yeah, we're looking at your live picture right now, Mike, and that would seem to underscore that comment because we see huge clouds of smoke billowing out of the Pentagon building.
Indeed.
Thank you, Mike, very much.
Sure.
Joe Kleins, back to you. When you saw the collapse of the building, were there people around you, and if so, what was the reaction on the part of the crowd?
They were, because there were a bunch of people who were on the bridge, standing and watching, and when they saw it, they said, "Oh my God, the whole building just went over." Because at that point, beforehand, you couldn't really tell what had happened to the first tower because there's just so much smoke that you just see smoke and one tower, and then all you saw was smoke after that. Smoke over all of Lower Manhattan, enveloping all of the financial district, going over the East River. And, as I was driving in, I was hearing reports of people saying papers were flying over Brooklyn. This is an hour ago. So I can imagine what, this tremendous calamity. But people, the parking garage where I parked in Queens, it's at Queens Plaza.
City best in the world, so a plane, we're told now that a plane went down in Pennsylvania, but we don't know anything much more than that. That a plane went down in Pennsylvania, we don't know where, and we don't know exactly what happened on that. But we will keep checking. As you can imagine, the news is it's flooding into us, and we're trying to get out.
Third location struck by terrorists, and we understand that the Pentagon has collapsed at least partially. Mike Emanuel, are you there?
Yes, I am.
What can you tell us about this latest development?
It's just been a crazy day here in Washington. I mean, it's one of those days where you run in one direction, hearing news breaking in one area, and then
The best we can, bits and pieces. But again, I would just urge you, stay calm.
All right, John, let me interrupt you if I may, because we have a further development. We're told now that from people in Washington that the Pentagon has undergone a partial collapse. As we've been telling you, the Pentagon was the third.
An airplane, just some kind of a bomb went off at the Wnyw Medical Center. So whatever is going on here is very, very coordinated. We would ask you and urge you, stay home, stay calm, don't panic, don't worry about anything. You're in the hands of the best life-saving, the police department, the firefighters, and through that to get people out of there.
One of our field producers is at NYU Medical, and there was some type of explosion. She can't confirm.
NYU Medical Center,
Yes,
there's
and
been an
she
explosion?
said, she and our reporter have debris on them. That's all I know, and the phone, she hung up. She's going to try to call the information.
So we have another report now of another, not